There's a command that is echoed for 2 millennia, and it might just be the most challenging, the most counterintuitive, and maybe the most revolutionary idea ever put into words. Love your enemy.
Right off the bat, I know what you're probably thinking. Love your enemies? In a world that's so full of conflict and injustice, doesn't that sound, I don't know, completely unrealistic? Maybe even a little dangerous? And you know what? That's a fair question. It's exactly what we're going to unpack right now.
So, the idea's most famous home is right here, in the Sermon on the Mount. And this wasn't just some casual suggestion. Nope. It was presented as the absolute peak of a new way of thinking, a complete break from the past. And to really get its power, we have to understand the world it was born into. All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the shocking context of this command. Then we'll break down what those words actually mean. We'll look at its power for your own personal freedom and how it's been used as a tool for justice. Then we'll tackle the big criticisms and wrap it all up by looking at it as the ultimate rebellion. First up, a radical, irrational command. To really feel how earth-shattering this was, we gotta jump in a time machine and rewind the clock. So in the first century, neighbor wasn't a universal term. It meant your people, your tribe. And hating your enemy, especially a foreign occupier like the Romans, wasn't just normal, it was seen as a good thing, a sign of loyalty. And into that world, this teaching lands like an absolute bombshell. It just completely erases those boundaries. Neighbor now means everyone, and nobody gets to be permanently labeled an enemy. Okay, section 2. Let's deconstruct these terms. Because a huge reason this command feels so impossible is that we're often working with the wrong definition. To get this, we have to look at the original Greek word for love that's used here, agape. This has nothing to do with feeling warm and fuzzy towards someone who's hurt you. No. Agape is a love of choice, of action. It is a deliberate commitment to another person's well-being, no matter how you feel about them. It means you choose to act for their ultimate good, even when they're acting against yours. And this shows you the huge fork in the road. Our default setting is usually retaliation, right? An eye for an eye. But that just keeps the cycle of hate spinning and spinning. Enemy love, this agape, it's like a circuit breaker. It takes the hit, it absorbs all that negativity, and it just refuses to pass it on. It makes a conscious choice to stop the cycle cold. And that leads us to something deeply personal. Section 3, personal liberation. Because this command, it isn't just about changing how you treat other people. It's about setting yourself free. I mean, think about it. When you truly hate someone, who's really in control? That person is living rent-free in your head. Your emotions, your peace of mind, they're all chained to the very person you can't stand. Hatred really is a prison that you build for yourself, brick by bitter brick. So loving your enemy becomes this radical act of reclaiming your own autonomy. You're refusing to let their actions dictate your inner life. You are breaking that chain of reaction. By actively choosing to wish them well, even in the tiniest way, like a quiet thought, you reorient your own heart. You take back your power and you reclaim your peace. But hey, this idea isn't just about inner peace. Oh no, it has proven to be one of the most powerful tools for social change in all of human history. Which brings us to section 4. A tool for justice. This is where the concept gets real teeth. Amazing leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., they took this idea of enemy love and turned it into a strategy they called moral jujitsu. This isn't passive. It's about using your opponent's own force against them. By refusing to mirror their violence, you expose the raw injustice of their system for the whole world to see. For Dr. King, this wasn't just some nice quote. It was the practical, strategic key to dismantling segregation. He argued that hate is a poison that destroys both the hater and the hated, and only a disciplined, active love could create what he called a beloved community, where everybody, the oppressed and the former oppressor, could be redeemed. So the strategy basically works in 3 stages. First, you absorb the violence without hitting back. Second, this shines a massive spotlight on the moral bankruptcy of the oppressor, creating a crisis of conscience. And third, and this is so important, the goal is never to crush your enemy. It's to win them over, to reconcile, to build a new community together. It's the exact same spirit that allowed someone like Nelson Mandela to work with his former jailers to build a new South Africa. Okay. It is time to address the elephant in the room. Section 5. Let's answer the critics.
because this whole philosophy, it faces some very serious and very valid questions. And here's the big one, right? Does this mean you just become a doormat? Do you just let evil run wild and do absolutely nothing to stop it? It's a question that really demands a crystal clear answer.
So let's be super clear. Loving your enemy is not passivity. It does not mean excusing evil or ignoring harm, or giving up your right to defend yourself. You can, and you should, fight against injustice with everything you've got. What it is a refusal to dehumanize the person doing the wrong thing. It's about separating the terrible act from the person and giving up on that corrosive, personal hatred, even as you work to stop the harm they're causing.
And all of that brings us to our final section, the ultimate rebellion. This is where we flip our entire understanding of strength and power completely on its head. The world tells us that power is all about dominance, right? About having control over other people. But this philosophy, it proposes something way more radical. It says no, true power is having control over yourself. It's the inner strength to not be controlled by your worst instincts. It's the courage to be the one who finally says, the cycle of revenge stops with me. And why does this matter so much right now? I mean, just look around us. Our social media is literally designed to reward outrage. Our political conversations frame the other side not just as wrong, but as an evil, existential threat. We are all living in these deep, tribal echo chambers. In this kind of world, the default response of hate and dehumanization is easier than it has ever been.
So, we're left with this final question. In a world that is constantly screaming at us to pick a side, to demonize, and to hit back, what if the most powerful, the most revolutionary, the most truly rebellious act of all isn't to fight fire with more fire, but to be the one who chooses to break the cycle?